So, welcome everybody. For those of you that don't read the email or don't get the email, next week will be our last gathering in person. And then we'll meet again. And then we are encouraged to go to the Mount Sinai Com website so that you can access the videos that we've been recording at this time every Tuesday so that you can continue to take your mindfulness pause, but in a different way. And then we'll restart again after Labor Day, the week after Labor Day. And so I was commenting in my email this morning that I recently learned of an old social justice song whose refrain includes the line, "Are you open? Are you willing?" And I truly love a good question that makes us think. And this question is really asking us to consider how we can step forward, how we can engage, and we can articulate what we are for. Because it is so natural for we as humans to get caught up in criticism. But as we all know, that can take us down the rabbit hole of despair. It's so easy to go there. And all we have to do is turn on the news or go to a social media account. But conversely, these simple questions, are you open and are you willing, can fill us with hope. And in the book, Active Hope, How to Face the Mess We're In Without Going Crazy, by Joanna Macy and Chris Johnston, which was written all the way back in 2012. With the title, it would indicate that it was written today, right? But they were talking more about the climate crisis, which is still with us, of course. But we have other crises that supersede that today. So they acknowledge that our times, even then, confront us with realities that are very painful to face. They're difficult to take in and they're confusing to live with. But they contend that the acceptance of this reality begins the amazing journey that strengthens us and deepens our aliveness. And civil rights leaders such as Dr. Martin Luther King lived with that active hope. And active hope is a practice. It is something we do rather than have. And with mindfulness, we're often talking about being. But mindfulness is also about doing very consciously. And the guiding impetus for active hope is intention. And you've heard me speak of intention in prior sessions. Rather than weighing our chances and proceeding only when we feel hopeful, we focus on our intention and let that be our guide. So being intentional means making choices that reflect what you value and what's important to you. And it can help you achieve goals, be more present, and have a more positive mindset. And, you know, we had this session I did this session on hope probably in January, I think. I can't recall exactly when it was, but I thought it's really worth repeating before we break for the summer. Because in thinking about our world today, we often hear comments like, oh, just don't go there, or it's just too depressing. And of course, the problem with this approach is that it closes down our conversations and it closes down our thinking. How can we even begin to tackle the mess that we're in if we consider it too depressing to think about? So when we do face the mess, when we do let the dreadful news into our world, it can often feel overwhelming. And we may wonder whether we can do anything about it. And we may get that very ineffectual feeling. So this is where we begin, folks, by acknowledging that our times confront us with realities that are painful to face, very difficult to take in, and confusing to live with. And the approach of active hope is to see this as the starting point of an amazing journey that strengthens us and deepens our aliveness. So our mindfulness practice teaches us that whatever situation we face, we have a choice. We can choose our response. So when facing overwhelming challenges, we often feel that our own small little action doesn't count much. Yet the kind of responses that we make and the degree to which we believe they count are shaped by the way that we think and feel about hope. And so the authors say that the word hope has two different meanings. The first involves hopefulness, where our preferred outcome seems reasonably likely to happen. We can feel hopeful. And if we require this kind of hope before we commit ourselves to an action, our response gets blocked in areas where we really don't rate our chances too high. This is where overwhelm comes in. And this can happen when we take a look at the state of our world today. Can't change it. We feel like, what's the point in even trying? Things are just too far along to change anything. But the second meaning, they say, is about desire. And so they suggest that we ask ourselves, what would I like to see regarding our political climate and our relationship with each other? What do I long for? So knowing what we hope for and what we'd love to take place, and then what we do with this hope, can really make the difference. Passive hope, they say, is about waiting for external agencies to bring about what we desire. Whereas active hope is about becoming an active participant in bringing about what we hope for. And I'll say that again because it's so important. Becoming an active participant in bringing about what we hope for. And Dr. Martin Luther King practiced active hope as well as many other people. And therein lies his and our inspiration, finding a person in our world who may be alive today or may have already passed, and they really made a difference in very challenging, difficult times. So using that as our inspiration is so important. So active hope is a practice, like Tai Chi or gardening or playing a musical instrument. It's something that we do rather than have. It's a process, and it involves 3 key steps. It involves taking a clear view of reality. And right there, that's called acceptance. And then we identify what we hope for in terms of the direction that we'd like things to move or the values that we'd like to see expressed. And the third step is we take steps to move ourselves or our situation in that direction. And since active hope doesn't require our optimism, we can apply it even in areas where we feel hopeless. And this is important. Active hope doesn't require our optimism. We can apply it even in areas where we feel hopeless. The guiding impetus is intention. We choose what we aim to bring about, what we're acting for, or what we're expressing. And rather than weighing our chances of success and proceeding only when we feel hopeful, we focus on our intention, and we let our intention be our guide. And so we're going to do a meditation on active hope. This meditation was created by Joanna Macy and Chris Johnson. And some of the questions that I'm going to ask you to think about, you may really have to allow those questions to marinate. You may not get an answer right away. And you may want to have a pencil and paper handy just to write down the questions. Thich Nhat Hanh suggests that we ask the big and difficult questions, and I love his metaphors. Thich Nhat Hanh was the Buddhist monk that brought so much mindfulness to the Western world, so many wonderful books and so many wonderful teachings. But he suggests that we ask the big and difficult questions, and he compares it to planting a seed in the ground. We water the seed, and the sunlight nourishes the seed. And he says, we don't continue to pull up the seed to see if the plant is growing roots. Rather, we let it be, and eventually the plant grows. And just as with our mindfulness practice, we nurture our questions with silence. That's the sunlight. With breath, with calm, with presence. And eventually the answer will arise, just like the seed of a plant. So just coming into a meditative posture, and actually before we do that, just opening your eyes and looking around the space that you're in. I can see some light coming in. There's not any sunlight, but there certainly is light coming in through my skylights, which is wonderful. And just looking at the different shapes and the colors and feeling gratitude for our capacity to see and the safety that our environment provides for us. And knowing that our sight, our sense of seeing, is an anchor in this meditation. If at any point you feel overwhelmed, you can simply open your eyes and take a look around the space that you're in to remind yourself that you're in this moment right now. And then hearing the sounds in your environment. Hearing is another anchor, a very reliable anchor. Just hearing the rhythm, the pitch, the consistency. Is it constant? Is it intermittent? And I'll ring the bell 3 times and simply allow the sound of the bell to come to you, following it until it dissolves. And just as the sound touched your ears, our body is touching many different surfaces. And so taking a moment to really explore our sense of touch, our feet touching the ground. The ground touches the earth. And so it's through our feet that we touch Mother Earth and find our balance. And feel into the touch point of your body touching the chair that you're sitting in, feeling that support. Allowing the body to really rest into that support, to relax into it. And feeling your arms and your hands touching your body. And noticing how the air that surrounds you, the ocean of air, is touching your skin. Where is that most apparent to you? And then bringing awareness to the point between your upper lip and your nostril, where the air and the space that you're in is drawn into your body to breathe you. And just feel that natural flow of air as it comes into your body. Inhaling and exhaling, letting go, the natural flow of the breath. And so just very consciously paying attention to the breath as it arrives, as the body lets go, exhales, and prepares for the next breath. And so breath can be your anchor, touch can be your anchor, sound can be your anchor, or sight. And so just listening to my suggestions as we process through this meditation. And the first stage in the meditation is gratitude. And we begin with gratitude as this helps resource us. It puts us in a stronger starting point to face disturbing information. A definition of gratitude is a felt sense of wonder, thankfulness, and appreciation for life. Gratitude also reminds us of our interdependence, of ways that we receive from others. And there are two sides to gratitude. The first is appreciation, and the second is thankfulness. And so to experience appreciation, see what words naturally follow the start of a sentence that begins with the words, I love. I love. And you're invited to name what you love, what you appreciate, what you relish, what you delight in. This might include people, pets, places, colors, qualities. Whatever follows the words, I love. It doesn't have to be anything big. It can just be something that you think, I'm glad that happened. And then for the second side of gratitude, thankfulness. You're invited to see what words naturally flow from the sentence, I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank. Who or what have you received from in ways that support you? See how it feels to name them, to thank them. When we feel gratitude, we build trust. We build generosity. And the second step is honoring our pain for the world. When we give attention to what we appreciate and feel supported by, we may also recognize ways these are threatened by conditions in our world. And so the next part of the meditation invites our witnessing of our own and each other's concerns, as well as the feelings these may arouse. And so, looking at the future we're headed into, my concerns include in many world religions, open alertness allows our heart to be stirred by the suffering of others, which is empathy. And empathy is appreciated as a strength. It simply means to suffer with. and it is prized as an essential and noble human capacity. And this ability to be concerned and alert to the suffering of others is evidence of our interconnectedness with all of life. When we face the truth of what's happening in our world, it can be painful, there's no question. But as we do in our mindfulness practice, we turn toward pain with kindness, with compassion for our own self as well as for others. Looking at the future we're heading into, my concerns include. That's a big question. And so, as with all these questions, allow it to marinate. And the third step is seeing with new eyes. Facing disturbing realities, I know you would all agree, can leave us feeling overwhelmed, exhausted. And so if we're to give our best response, it helps to be open to perspectives that inspire, empower, and resource us. Perspectives that open us to a sense of possibility. And one way of doing this is to see what words follow a sentence that starts with, "What inspires me is." What inspires me is. And another aspect of this is, how can I help? This question arouses compassion. Compassion is helping. It can be simply in the form of listening. It doesn't have to be a grandiose action. What inspires me? Or how can I help? When we are struggling to believe that what we hope for is possible, it's really important to protect ourselves from disillusionment. So in thinking about what would you like to achieve through active hope, use examples from history or turn to your own experiences of perseverance and resilience. And then stage 4 is, what can we do? Similar to, how can I help? What part can we play in the larger story of acting for what we love? Addressing our concerns or following what inspires us, our hope gives us the guidance here. And so the questions become, something I can do to help this happen is, this is compassion, how can I help? Let the question rest. Plant the seed. Let the answer evolve. Our mindfulness practice, both formal and informal, are the sunshine and the light that the question needs in order to arrive at an answer that is unique and actionable. You might also ask, a first or a next step I can take towards this in the next week is. And so allowing all of these questions to marinate. Remembering active hope is intentional. And I'm going to read a poem on Active Hope by Alice Anacheka Nasaman. In a world so filled with brokenness and sorrow, it would be easy to lose ourselves in never-ending grief, to be choked by our outrage, to be paralyzed by the enormity of suffering, to feel our hearts squeezed tight with hopelessness. Instead, today, let us simply breathe together as we hold our hearts open. Breathing in as our hearts fill with compassion. Breathing out as we hope for healing in our world and in our lives. Breathing in, opening ourselves to the transformative power of love. Breathing out as we hope for peace in our world and in our lives. Breathing in as we hold hope in our hearts. Breathing out as we hope for justice in our world and in our lives. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into this world. Breathing in, we are the wish, the intention. Breathing out, we are the healing. Breathing in, we are the love. Breathing out, we are the peace. Breathing in, we are the hope. Breathing out, we are the justice. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into this world, and may it ever be so.